So it's wonderful to meet you. Thank you so much for taking a minute out for the show today.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
You bet. So let's begin our conversation with 5 years ago. This pandemic was changing everything. How did you survive the pandemic of 2020, and how has it kind of radiated into your world in 2025?
Oh, we were blessed in the pandemic. We were living in Denver in 2019, and my wife's parents were fading in Minnesota. And we said, let's go back to rural Duluth, Minnesota, Hermantown, Minnesota. And we landed here, and then the pandemic hit. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad we are not in the metro, in the city, in the mess.
Yeah,
So we had kids at that time. Our daughter started kindergarten in Colorado. She wanted to. And then we moved and she started kindergarten in Minnesota. And then the pandemic hit a year or two later. So she and her little brother went to homeschool.
yeah,
And now he's in third grade and he's just like off the charts because he did school with her 2 years ahead of time.
yeah,
And at that point, I was doing software and it didn't impact us very much. So we were able to flow and go and just kind of work with it. There's a little bit of discomfort, a little bit of what does this really mean? Where is God in this? And what is the world doing?
yeah,
And what should we do?
yeah, for sure. There was a lot of confusion at that time. So let's get to the heart and soul of what you do on a daily basis. And to do that, children get the truth out of us. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of 12-year-olds. It's career day. The curious kid in the back of the room is like, hey, what do you do for a living? How do you
I
answer
love
it?
that. I love that position of that question. That's cool. I talk to people and help them understand themselves.
Okay.
Well, I think I just confused that kid.
No, no, no. I think kids probably one of the outgrowths of the pandemic is the mental health awareness. And I think probably they've heard enough since we've come out of the pandemic about that. I think it would be very topical. I think they'd get it. So what did you want to be when you were a kid? When you had career day, what was your dream job?
Um, After I got over being a firefighter and a policeman and all that, I think it just kind of shifted to just being a leader, a teacher, a transformer. Not one of those kid transformers.
Yeah, yeah. The other one.
Um, but I was surprised because in part of my journey in my transition through my addiction, I found a letter or a note from elementary school that said I wanted to be a computer programmer.
Wow.
So I did that for many years, and I still do that to support what I'm doing now
Yeah.
and um, to complement what I'm doing now and help other people do what I'm doing better. So that was like a mind-blowing thing because my parents are like, "Oh, you got to be an engineer because they make big bucks." And a chemical engineer I pursued for 3 years. And then when I found that letter after I was already getting into software, I was like, "Wow, I'm prophetic."
That's it. So take me back to your childhood. Where were you born and raised? What were these foundational elements of wrapping your heads around zeros and ones and getting into software development and even now helping people understand themselves and getting to a better place? How did all those seeds get sown?
I don't know. That's interesting. I lived in a lot of places, not military or anything, but born in Kentucky, raised in Indiana, took kindergarten, moved to Maine, and at that point, and lived there, loved it. Lots of snow near the water, near the coast. Was there. We were in the outskirts of town, so lots of woods. I got woods right out my window over here that um, I tell my family we are so blessed right now. We have everything but the lake.
Yeah.
We have the school district a half a mile that way, city hall a half a mile that way, and we have 3 acres of woods.
Wow. That's
And
great.
then we moved to Minnesota, and now we're in the cornfields in the prairie. And junior high was kind of actually it was before junior high. We got a VIC 20 computer in 1980 something, and I sat in front of this little 12-inch black and white television, plugged it in, and I went through the entire book like now. And that was before my mom discovered time limits on screens.
Oh yeah.
I think typing would be excluded. I would still exclude it for my kids today.
Yeah, right. Yeah. That's
So that's where I
amazing.
got the bug.
Yeah. Did you
Yeah.
develop any games? Like I remember when I was in junior high, I did Oregon Trail. There was like a low grade program that we could make a game.
Yeah, that was a great game, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was totally cool.
We had a computer class and it was only like one trimester or something in junior high. It
Yeah,
wasn't long enough. It wasn't enough.
yeah,
Mr. Hakes introduced class on the first day. Hey, I'm your next favorite teacher, and blah 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 blah. And he was.
yeah,
I don't know if he induced that or if it was just that magical connection, but part of that class was to write a game. And I don't remember what I actually wrote, but I told him I was going to write Monopoly.
Oh, cool.
And he said, "You're going to write Monopoly." He didn't say it like that, but now that I
Yeah,
look back on it, he retained that within himself
yeah,
and guided me. I don't know if it was tic-tac-toe or I don't remember, but I remember that it wasn't the big project. It
yeah,
was something where I could succeed and stay successful and stay in the joy of it. Our
yeah.
high school didn't have much computer, so I kept tinkering with it on the side.
So, do you remember the first computer that you ever bought yourself?
I I guess I do. That's
What
interesting.
what was it?
It was a Fujitsu
Okay.
laptop
Oh,
on
wow.
credit
Okay.
because we were driving the ski team out to Colorado, which I was coaching at the time. And one of the other coaches like, we could watch movies in the van all the way out to Colorado for a 16-hour drive. And I was like, cool. I got a credit card. I'm in college. I'm stupid. And I grabbed a computer and we grabbed some. We had to have DVDs back then. I hope some of your listeners, it seems they're probably our age,
Yeah, yeah,
know what DVDs are.
yeah, totally. I remember doing the same thing. I got a credit card in college and I got a Packard Bell in 93. And I remember getting an encyclopedia set and all these other CD-ROMs, and I was just blown away. And just to have this behemoth, and yeah, it's wild. Those early machines are just they're seminal in your development. So I'm curious on your career arc. How did it begin? How did it begin, and how did you evolve to this place that you're at right now?
Um, I was in engineering, chemical engineering, mom and dad's plan.
Yeah,
I was like, we entered fluid dynamics, and the joke there was the answer to everything's 42 beta. And that's where I was like, the calculations of how fluid flows through pipes and everything. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go ski. Took 2 years off, went out to Washington. I went out and did an interview tour around the West States to get a ski patrolling job because I'm like, ski patrol is cool. You get to ski the whole time and it's awesome. My first interview, the guy says, "Where are you from?" I said, "Minnesota." He's like, "How many avalanches do you have in Minnesota?" I said, "Well, almost as many as Joe does in Kansas City." Well, I didn't say that, but
yeah, right.
he said, "We don't have a place for you here. But when you get done with your tour, let me know and I'll try to help you find a place." So at that point, we did have some internet, not much. And I said, "Where are the most avalanches?" And they said, "In the Northwest." And I found what's the ski area that has the most avalanches. And I found Crystal Mountain, Washington. I went and interviewed there. They always laughed because I showed up in a suit and tie. That's what they told us in high school and college
Yeah,
for a redneck ski patrol freedom job.
yeah,
But I got the job there and did that for a few years. Came back to school and I said, I just love teaching and being with people.
yeah,
And so came back, started ski coaching then, started getting my teaching degrees, and taught school for a couple of years, coached ski racing, alpine ski racing downhill for 12 years. All that time hiding my abuse, hiding my offenses and harm on others with my sexual abuse cycle, and being like this, not like this, but a version of this
yeah,
on stage in front of people looking cool. I was a highly sought after coach, got recruited out of Minnesota to Colorado, had top level athletes in the 10 to 14-year-old age range. And then my my secret struggles, my secret sins came out and I entered recovery and said, I can't be there. That's not healthy, safe
yeah,
for me. And that's when I'm like, well, what do I do? And that's when I found that letter.
Wow.
The same time I was doing software and finding that letter that says, I want to be a software developer in that scrawly little third grade handwriting. And I was like, thank you, Lord.
Yeah.
I remember praying through that. I went to college and left church. For me, high school and all that, I was in church, but I wasn't of church.
Yeah.
I was on the church board. I was the youth representative there. All the adults were like, "Oh, Brian, you're so good and you're great." And I was like, church was, it's blasphemy, but it was praise Brian time.
Right.
I went to college and all the other college kids, even some of the older ones, none of them were there to praise me. None of them thought it was neat that I was coming to church. So I quit going to church in college.
Yeah.
But 10 years later, 15 years later, in the midst of this addiction, in the midst of this cycle, I said, Lord, get me out of here.
Yeah.
As soon as you can get rid of these thoughts and this addiction, I'll be the perfect coach. Fouled up thinking,
Right. Yeah.
but I thought at that time that was the best thinking I had. And looking back on it, it's just amazing what God has done to take that moment and say, yeah, you can't be here anymore. You need to move. You need to go. You need to spend a few years in prison and think about it and come back out and be transformed and be different. I'm like, I wasn't going to church or anything. I was praying for this thing. And then the next day it was supposed to be, okay, I'm pure
Yeah.
of heart and mind. And now I'm the perfect ski coach. But the next day I was going to prison.
Wow.
And
Who was that inspirational force for you to make the change? Or who has been somebody that's helped you become who you are?
um, I think it was Chuck was part of it. He was the program director at summer camp at the beginning of this cycle in those college years. And Chuck, I could sit down with Chuck and talk, and he would tell me what I'm thinking. And I'm really good at telling my kids what they're thinking, but they don't hear it.
Yeah.
Chuck told me what I was thinking, and it clarified it for me, and it made sense to me when Chuck told me what was going on. And he was there through parts of that transition. But I remember a time, wow, I haven't talked about this in a while. I remember a time, it was mid-season review. We were summer camp counselors, and he gave me straight tens on all my scores. And he said, the camp director said, you can't do that. Brian will slack off and he'll start diving. And Chuck's like, I can do that because there's no way he will start off slacking and keep not keep driving. And as I was made that reflection a minute ago, I'm like, that drive was to keep the mask up, to keep everything pristine on the outside, maintain the mask, cover the secret struggles, the secret addiction, the secrets. And I've transformed some of that for for I don't know. I'm pretty transparent about my story and where I've been, and I still think I seek tens.
Yeah.
I've got three core beliefs. I believe I'm getting better every day. I believe we're better together. And I believe in a God who knows better, way better than I do.
And during this change and helping people get to a better place, what's been one of the best kind of fan letters, responses, some kind of change that you've sparked in others?
Um, I like that I've got those stories, but as I hear your question, I'm looking for a deeper one with that. And I think Brian comes to mind. We'll leave out the anonymity for the rest of it, but he came to one of my mastermind groups, and he was only there for about 8 months. Um, and one of my pretenses at that point was you got to be debt free and or on a plan to be debt free to be in here. And we were in a just a side call between meetings to talk about life and just checking in. And he's like, I don't know how he got to it, but I caught on that he couldn't afford his next payment. And I said, maybe it's time for you to step out of the group. And he said, yeah, I think you're right. I'm like, we'll support you. And it's okay,
Yeah.
but don't go to a payday loan to keep coming here. And he was looking to follow what I'm doing in my footsteps and coaching men in career transition stuff, which is what he was doing professionally, but he wanted to do it as a coach, as his own business. And what he got out of that 8 months that he was there was, I'm quitting my job, which is very uncomfortable. He was very comfortable where he was at because he knew about a higher paying job that would give him a little more bandwidth, a little more space to start growing his next thing. His wife was supportive of him being in our group the whole time. I think she might have even been supportive of the payday loan. But a couple months after he left the group, we're still friends. We still are connected because that's the nature of kingdom family leaders.
Yeah.
Um, we're all men and women, but we're all human and God put us together for a purpose. But she was so excited and so happy that what he got out of the group was quit my job and move up
Yeah.
because he was stuck in that rut, and that
Yeah.
change transformed him and his family and where they're at. He has a mastermind group of his own now, and he's coaching men in that career transition period on his own. He still
Yeah.
has a job, but he had the hard thing,
Yeah.
hard questions to go through, that hard
Absolutely.
transformation.
So let me ask you this. If you had a dream tonight, ran into the 18-year-old version of you going out into the world, and you could give that young version of you a piece of advice based on this life you've led, the wisdom you've gained, the things that have happened throughout the years, what advice would you give that young version of you?
Wow. The knee gut reaction is let that secret sin and struggle out right now.
Yeah.
But what's happened through and because of that would be gone. So I guess it would be get get connected with God now, and the crap's going to hit the fan, but there's a bigger story at the end.
Yeah. So speaking of the story at the end, so to speak, or the story in the middle of everything that you've done, everything you've overcome, everything you've evolved to, what are you the proudest of?
Um, I don't like that word.
Oh,
I
pride. Yeah, it's ugly. I get it. What are
It's
you?
funny because that's just a recent thing for me.
Yeah. No, no, no. I
But
know. Sometimes
pride
that can be a
presupposes shame.
yeah.
So what do I think is most excellent is
Yeah.
kind of how I use it
That's
with the
it.
people I work with and stuff. Because it's just a psychology thing and a
Yeah,
word thing, and it's so used in our society,
it is.
and I think it's an attack. I am most excited about. I shouldn't have kids. I shouldn't have a family. Um, when I when the crap hit the fan, I knew that was not a good idea. Through therapy and recovery and a college girlfriend, now my wife for 12 years, um, she's like, and when we talked before getting married, she's like, I told her my whole story, like the details. And she's like, oh, that makes sense. I'm like, what'd you just say?
Yeah.
She said, I knew there was something going, I knew there was something wrong. Not wrong. She didn't even use that word. Whatever she said, I heard.
Yeah.
I knew there was something wrong in there, and I'm glad that it's out on the table now, and you've got it because now you can be whole, and
Yeah.
now you can be complete. Um, she had 3 kids when we got married. We added 2 more. We got kids from 9 to 25 years old, and it's just exciting. I raised every age of kid
Yeah.
from 0 to 18 in 8 years. Um, every age
Cool.
of boy and girl from 0 to 18 in 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's been a journey, and it's just yeah, parenting and just being able to live where we live, impact lives, and just growing the Kingdom Family Leader movement that we're doing this year. We just launched it last fall, and we've got one mastermind group, and just being able to connect with people that aren't joining us, but are connecting with us. They're not customers, they're God's children, just like me, just coming to be better together, right? My
Yeah.
core values, core beliefs.
So at the end of the day, everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, everyone that you work with, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I think I'm just doing my best, getting by each day, following the Lord, and messing up at following the Lord, and trying to give my best. And always that voice in the back of my head is that best a mask, or are you still really in there?
Yeah.
Or are you still really out there? Um, I remember first entering recovery, they were looking for volunteers at church, and doing kind of some of the screens and computery stuff that I'm good at. And I'm like, I don't know, that looks pretty attention seeking. So really that attention seeking filter of what's the attention and
Yeah.
what's it for, and what's the end game for that attention.
Yeah. So if anybody wants to get involved with the family Kingdom Family Leader, or they want to reach out to you, they have questions, anything in your world, where can they go?
Um, kfl.vision/assessment is a great place to start.
Okay.
kfl.vision/assessment. It's a online self-assessment quiz, and you just look at our three pillars. How well are you blessing yourself? How well are you expanding your territory? How well are you serving his kingdom? And you get a score, and you
Yeah.
get some hints. And just by going through the questions, you're like, oh yeah, I could have spent a little more time with my child today, or I could have done this, or bless ourselves is so counter-American, counter-intuitive. Well, it is American.
Yeah.
It's counter-Christian. We get that belief that we can't bless ourselves. And that's kind of where we start. And that's where I was trapped, because I wasn't taking care of myself.
Yeah.
And that's such an important step.
Absolutely. I will make sure to put that assessment link in the show notes. Brian, thank you. What a raw, revealing story. Thank you. Without a doubt, it takes a lot of courage to be at a point to put the story out to help change lives. So thank you. I appreciate you taking a minute out.
Joe, I really appreciate you, and just the great questioning.
Thank you.
um, to really take all my stock answers and toss them, and let me be creative. I
That's
loved it.
it. Yep, that's it. That's what we got to do. I appreciate it, man. Thank you so
Looking to
much.
get new clients to your business through cold calling or email marketing? At Agency Y, they envision a world in which small and big companies have equal chances to win new customers in the market. Their purpose is to bring parity and reduce the gap between large and small firms with the help of their cold calling and cold email marketing services. Use the code Joe Dimino 10 at www.agencyyyy.org/coldcallingjoe.php or www.agencyyyy.org/emailmarketingjoe.php to get 10% off your first order. This is Joe Dimino of Neon Jazz and Famous Interviews, and I stand behind Agency Y to meet your business dreams.